Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics. How you doing? Welcome to the Fantasy MD's Baseball Podcast. This is episode number 7. Today we're going to be talking starting pitchers. This is your host, Dominic Martino. Here as always with my co-host, Matthew Ane. Matt, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing good. Excited. Baseball's like 2 weeks away. Getting a pod every day. It's something nice new routine for the year. I'm pretty excited, man.
Yeah, brother.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Got the Yankee game on here in the background. I mean, getting to see, the team looks interesting. Glaber's been hot, so I mean,
Don't believe it.
No, it's crazy. I've been watching, man. He's been consistent, so it's going to be interesting to see what the Yankees do here with that extra man. It's going to be pretty interesting. Speaking of the Yankees, we're going to go into news here a little bit. It does look like that the mayor is going to lift the vaccine mandate. I think it's for performing athletes and something along the lines of athletes and something else, but not for everybody. So it looks like the Mets and the Yankees are going to be able to play at home, which is good news for fantasy baseball. But other than that, Matt, anything you wanted to touch on that or anything you want to talk about here in the news segment here? Anything that you saw today or?
No, I mean, there's no real news that really was popping. I think we covered everything on Tuesday, so I think we can kind of just roll in. So,
Sounds good to me, brother.
I'll start it off right here. We got Max Scherzer. He's our number one consensus overall. So last year, what he did was pretty incredible, especially going from, Washington over to the Dodgers and kind of getting some over there. And now he's on the Mets, which is pretty interesting too, because now he's slotted in as the number one there. Man, he's going to be a monster. The pitch.
Well, don't just sell DeGrom short. I think DeGrom's getting opening day, to be honest with you.
I mean, yeah, but DeGrom just hasn't been healthy. But we'll talk about him in a little bit. But,
my bad.
You're also talking about one of the best pitchers of all time here. So
that 1-2 is crazy. That 1-2 is going to be nuts.
Good luck. They're going to win a game every 5 days, essentially, the two of them. So anyway, what he did last year was he had 15 wins, a 2.46 ERA, which is honestly just bananas, 236 Ks. And, what do you expect from the guy? He got a whip of 0.82. So, I mean, the guy's a stud. I don't think we really need to talk too much about him. Yeah. You have anything going on that you want to say about him?
I got him as my number one right now. I mean, I think he's the crazy thing is I think I flip-flopped it today. I think I had Scherzer 1, but after I saw DeGrom's 2 innings the other day where he struck out 5 guys, I was like, I got to put DeGrom number 1 when he's healthy. So I have DeGrom 1, Max Scherzer 2. So those 2 Mets are just going to be lights out this year. I think Scherzer specifically does basically what he did last year. And until Father Time takes him down, I think he's up in that top echelon of pitchers, and I take him with confidence. I got no problem with taking Max Scherzer as a number 1 starting pitcher.
Yeah, for sure. So he's actually my number 4, but we'll get into why who's my number 1. But let's move on. Like Dom was already mentioned him. Jacob deGrom, guy's another stud. But here's where we're at. He had 7 wins, a 1.08 ERA, 146 Ks. I mean, he's incredible. But the thing is, he only got 92 innings last year, dealing with injuries. I hope it's not a trend, because he's been dinged up over the last couple of years, and now he kind of missed a little bit more of a significant time, hence why he's not my number 1 overall, because when he's healthy, he is the best pitcher in baseball. But Dom, take it away.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm getting at. Matt just took the words right out of my mouth. I think when healthy, he's the best pitcher in baseball, and he showed it in his first start to spring training. He pitched 2 innings. He had 5 strikeouts, and I watched it, and he's just absolutely electric. So I had to push him up. I have him as my number 1 starting pitcher coming into this season, and as long as he's healthy, he's going to be best pitcher in baseball. Like Matt said, there's been a couple injuries here and there, but otherwise he's been pretty consistent over his career. He's pitched a lot of innings, but that does add to the amount of innings he does have on his arm. So it is going to be interesting to see, but I'm not counting him out until he's hurt for a long period of time. And I mean, I know he was out a while last year, but I'm still taking him with confidence. I'm taking him with confidence. He's my number one starting pitcher going into the year. Scott Scherzer number two. So that's no one wants to face the Mets going into this year.
Yeah,
But
no.
Matt, who do we got number three there on the consensus?
So actually, I made a boo boo.
That's all right.
So DeGrom is actually our three, everybody. So
Okay.
I forgot about Dom's boy, Corbin Burns.
Oh
So,
yeah, Corbin.
Yeah, Corbin Burns is an absolute stud. You can't really go wrong outside of the fact of he's on that team. But again, it seems like they just got a core team of pitchers. And let me just read off what he did last year. So he had 11 wins, a 2.43 ERA, which is another just ridiculous number, and 234 Ks. And let's just talk about his WHIP as a 0.94. I mean, there's not much you could say. God, just incredible. And
he's a great pitcher. And the thing is, I love what Milwaukee's been doing with the starting pitchers over the past few years. They've really been building up a lot of like these young kids, and they've been turning out great. Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta last year. It looks like they're on the track of building up a very good young core of pitchers, especially with Corbin Burns. I remember hearing about him in his rookie year. He got shelled. I believe his ERA was like over 8 or something along the lines of that. And he just didn't look right. And then after that offseason, he got together with the pitching staff there and the pitching coaches there rather. And they were working on a few things, and he found it because, as Matt mentioned, the last couple of years, the guy's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. That slider's deadly. I think Corbin Burns is a top 5 pitcher going forward, and he's still young. Matt, how old is he again there? If you still have that baseball reference, I believe he's like 26. So I think he's going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball going forward for like the next year. 26, right?
Yep, born in 94.
So he's going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball going forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on Corbin Burns.
Absolutely, he's my number 2, just so everybody has a heads up. And then
I believe I have him third. I have him right behind the Mets big 2.
Yeah. So now we're going to move on to my number 1, which is our number 4 in the consensus, and that's Walker Bueller. So Walker Bueller is an incredible young pitcher. He's also 26. 27, actually. We did our math poorly. But anyway, he had 16 wins, a 2.47 ERA, 212 Ks, and a 0.97 WHIP. Now, the reason why I'm in love with him, and not just for the fact that he shares a last name with my wife, her maiden name, but the guy is an absolute stud. He also gets the bonus for being on the evil empire over there, the Dodgers. He's going to probably throw up like 22 wins most likely this year, just because they're just the most ridiculous team in baseball, and he's just an incredible talent. So you can't really go wrong with him. I think honestly, in terms of safe bet, that's why he's my number 1.
All right. Yeah, see, that I have him as my number 5 starting pitcher going into this year, which is why he did turn out a little bit lower on our consensus here. I only have him below the big 2 Mets, the DeGrom and Scherzer. Then I have Corbin Burns, and then I have Garrett Cole at number 4. The only reason I have those guys a little bit higher is because it seems like they have a higher K ratio there to innings. Matt, how many innings and Ks did Walker Bueller have there last year? If you could read that off me real quick.
Walker Bueller had 212.
Ks, and how many innings?
He had 207.
See, so the thing is, it's close to a K per 9 there. As to where if you look at the 4 that I have above him, they're all way higher than that. They're all striking out. It's like 50 or 60 strikeouts over the innings. So I think those guys specifically that I said, I'll mention them again, is DeGrom, Scherzer, Burns, and Cole. I think all of them are just going to give you more strikeouts. Like Matt said, Walker Bueller might give you a few more wins on that Dodgers team, but I don't think it's going to be by a crazy amount because I think all those other teams are going to be good as well. I think the Mets are going to be highly improved this year. Hopefully they can get some wins for DeGrom, which they haven't been able to do over the past few years. I think the Yankees are going to be good. Cole's going to get his wins in. And then the Brewers should be a playoff team too, as they've been the last few years, So I think all those teams are good. I'm high on Walker Bueller. I have him as my number 5 starting pitcher. Just want to see, just explain that little gap I got there with Matt. That's all. But very high on him. I think the kid's going to be electric, as he's been the last few years. You bank on him as a top 5 starting pitcher, and he's going to do you well there.
All right. Well, we'll agree to disagree, and halfway through the season, you'll be like, "Oh man, I'm sorry," but it's okay.
It's only a couple of spots.
Exactly. but you'll still regret it. But anyway, so we got Garrett Cole as our number 5. So, the only reason he's 5 is I believe I have him at exactly, I have him at my 5.
Yeah.
And
I have my 4, so we're basically spot on with Cole.
Right. So the thing about Cole is what he did last year, and the fact that he's pitching in Yankee Stadium, and it's hard to do that. He had 16 wins, which is exactly what you expect being on the Yankees. But here's where the difference is between everybody else: that 3.23 ERA. So that's not his norm since he moved to the Astros and then finally on our team, and it'll probably come down. But at the same time, I'm going to take that lower ERA with that same K upside, since he did have 243 Ks last year and a 106 WHIP, which again is not as significant like the others. I mean, you're cutting hairs with the WHIP, but the ERA is definitely a significant difference. So.
Yeah, I hear you there, Matt. My thing is I think with starting pitching, it's going to be interesting. We definitely got to mention the sticky stuff, the whatever. What was it called again?
I can't even spider glue.
Spider tack.
There it is.
The thing was with once they took that away from the starting pitchers, there was a lot of guys that were like, "Whoa, I got to kind of figure out how to pitch without it." And I think what happened with Cole was that he had quite a few bad starts right after they took it away. But then as the season started to go along, he started to find his stride again, and he looked a little bit better down the stretch for us. So I do think Cole's ERA is going to be maybe in the high 2s or the low 3s, which is still going to be great. But I think the thing is he's going to give you so many strikeouts. And I think in strikeout to innings ratio is going to be a lot better than you're going to get from a lot of these other guys, as we start to go down the list here. The whip is another thing. Maybe he's not going to give you that great whip that he used to, but a 106 ain't bad. And I honestly, I project it to be a bit lower than that this year. I think he does figure out how to pitch without the stuff. And I think he looks great because he did look great down the stretch for us last year. Now, I do want to mention something that's ironic, Matt, and I don't even know if you saw this, but our 6 to 10 is exactly the same.
I did not know that.
We have the exact same 6 to 10 here. So, guys, Matt and I in lock and step here with our starting pitchers rankings as we go forward. Matt, if you want to tell the people who we got 6th here going forward.
We got my boy Brandon Woodruff. So I'm an absolute fan. To be honest, the first half of the season I was calling for Cy Young, and we'll get to it in a second.
But you know who took it from him? His boy Corbin Burns.
Same team. It's that pitching clinic over there, man.
I'm telling you, and I'm high on Freddie this year too.
Oh yeah. So you got 9 wins from him last year, 2.56 ERA, which is absolutely beautiful, and that 211 Ks, and the WHIP.
How many innings, Matt?
Let me switch back to that other page for you. So that innings were 179, which was definitely not the 200 of that elite level.
I like that though. That's a good ratio there though.
Right. He did get a little banged up, and also too, it's one of those things where he has more Ks to give if he were to get the 200 innings. So that 211 is probably going to be super like a low floor. But anyway, so his WHIP was 0.9096. And what I was going to say was his split. So before and after the All-Star break is where the drop off kind of happened. So before the All-Star break, he had 113 innings, 7 wins. Here we go. 129 Ks, a 2.06 ERA with an 82 WHIP. So after the All-Star break, and of course he had a little bit of an injury, he had only 2 wins to 6 losses, 66 innings. He had 82 Ks, and he had a 3.41 ERA with a 1.21 WHIP. So I feel like the injury kind of what held him back, but at the same time too, he just did not look right that whole second half. If he was able to keep up what he was doing in the first half of that, he probably would have been a lot higher on my list. I think he has potential to be higher, be better, and as long as he's healthy, he's going to get over 200 innings. So I think this is like your floor. Hey, you get 180 innings from the kid, and this is what you get. I'm going to take that all day.
Yeah, I agree. I think his upside, and this is where I might get you a little mad. I could see him passing up Walker Bueller in my rankings, just in the sense of I think his K upside is going to be even higher than Bueller's. I mean, in the past few years, Bueller's thing is that he kind of stays close to that K per 9. I think he'll constantly be over it by a few, but I don't know if I mean, he can still show it at 27 is the supposed, prime year for, athletes and stuff like that. So he could he could come out and he could give you it, but I haven't seen it really from him yet. Where as Woodruff's been doing it the last few years, that K ratio looks really, really good. So he's going to, on that great team where he's going to give you the wins. As Matt said, that drop off in the second half is likely due to injury because it's not the Woodruff we've seen the last 3-4 years. So I think that, if he gets a full 180, 200 innings, sky's the limit. He could have 250, 260 strikeouts. That whip going to stay where it is, maybe a smidge higher, even a smidge lower if he's pitching great. And that ERA, I think it's a high twos ERA, in the 2.8 in that range. So I think, like we've been talking about that, we love that Brewers pitching staff. They're absolutely great. The coaching there is great. So I say any Brewers, going forward, I like them. I like the Brewers pitching staff going forward. Matt, if that's it on Woodruff, we can keep going.
Yeah. So we got next up is Zach Wheeler from the Philadelphia Phillies. Just a little note. We think we mentioned it on Tuesday, but if you didn't hear the show yet, I'll just give you the news again. So he's probably going to miss opening day. He had a little shoulder soreness and whatnot, but it hasn't really shut him down. So they're just not going to give him the opening day. Going to probably miss that first 4 days of the season, and then get it rolling from there. But last year he was incredible. Didn't he win an award last year, Dom? If I'm not mistaken.
He did not. He did not win the Cy Young. He was right there. Yeah, he was right there. It was him, Scherzer, and Burns.
Right. So Burns ended up taking it. Right. So he had an incredible season, especially first season with the Phillies. No, second season with the Phillies. He came in late halfway. This is his first full season with them. He had 14 wins, a 2.78 ERA, and 247 Ks, and he had a 101 WHIP. So he was incredible last year. The team was honestly not as good as they're going to be this year, obviously. I mean, they added a lot of great components. Also going to get Rhys Hoskins off playing the field a little bit more, which will help the protection behind him. And, hopefully Baum can start playing some defense at third. Otherwise, they're going to have to find a replacement. But other than that, I mean, it's one of those things where, the whole team as a whole is better to protect him for, things that can go awry.
Yeah, I mean, Wheeler, it's going to be interesting with the Phillies. I mean, I don't know how much better they got defensively with Schwarber and Casty. They're all right, but it's going to be interesting. I think he pitched great. I know he pitched great last year, and I think he could build off of that. It's going to be interesting to see where he's at with the shoulder guys. I would keep up to date, with that, what he's doing as far as I know he's doing bullpen sessions right now. He has not gotten to live games yet, and as Matt said, he's not going to pitch opening day. So, guys, I keep up with that as going into draft weekends next weekend and the following weekend after that. Because if he's not going, if they say, hey, you know what, he's actually going to miss the first month, then I'm moving him down my rankings. Because right now, I still have him at 7 right now. I'm holding out thinking that, he misses the first turn in the rotation and then he's back by that second week, ready to be an ace again. And with that being said, Matt, Matt mentioned earlier, he did almost win the Cy Young last year, had a high innings with high strikeouts, which we love to see. That Phillies team is getting better. So I think the wins go up. So Zach Wheeler's, top 10 pitcher this year, guys. I draft him with confidence as long as, we know for a fact it's just going to be that one turn in the rotation and that he's going to be back in week 2 for us.
All right. So our next guy, this brings us to our next guy, which is another Dodger, Julio Urias. I probably said that wrong.
Urias.
You were
close.
I can't pronounce anybody's names, but tough. So anyway.
We call him on One Eye.
Yeah. So my guy is, me and Dom have been waiting for him to actually finally get his shot at, a full-time pitching role because, I mean, they've been really just dragging their feet on this kid because he's actually really incredible. And this is the first time they've actually let him rip at over even 100 innings. This is the first season over 100 innings, which is just baffling.
Yeah. How many did he get last year? How many innings?
Well, last year was COVID. Oh, no, last year, 2021, 185. So he didn't even break that 200 mark yet, which is kind of scary. But at the same time, though, I think this year he'll get that opportunity, being that this is the first season that, he got over even 100 because his highest season before this was 2019 at 79 innings. Well, let me read off.
What was his line? Yeah, there you go. You beat me to it.
Yeah. So that for this year or last year, you want to hear first?
2021. What did he do?
So 2021, he pitched 185 innings. He had 195 Ks, a 2.96 ERA, a 102 WHIP. and he had 20 wins, which is just bananas, and it's probably going to go higher. He's a very efficient pitcher, and quite honestly, again, I don't need to speak about the Evil Empire all that much. But
how old is he, Matt? How old is he going to be this year, coming into the season?
25.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just lead off that and saying that I think he builds off. Yeah, I think he builds off of what he did last year. I think the strikeouts could be higher. Though, I mean, if he won 20 games last year, if he does that again, hey, you're happy, you know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the lineup's only getting better. They're good defensively. I think the kid is only improving as he goes forward. I could see him potentially making a leap into the top 5 going into next year. I think the kid is going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. The kid gloves are off with him now. So now it's, he could get to 200 innings, I wouldn't be shocked if he did. So I think the kid is going to be absolutely great this year. Once again, guys, Matt and I are locking step here with the consensus. We both have the same rankings going down here. Just want to remind you guys as we keep going down the list,
This is the first time we haven't had to debate for a while.
Yeah, I know. We're basically just here, patting each other's back with this one.
We did really good, and we didn't coordinate. So anyway,
we didn't.
Our next one is actually one of my favorite guys. Another one that was like, God, why do people keep messing with him? And this is Lucas Giolito. So
Giolito, this is number 9, right? We're up to 9?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So Lucas Giolito is probably one of my favorite pitchers. He finally is getting his shot on the White Sox, and by shot, he's owning it. Like, don't let me, talk down on him. But, the Washington Nationals actually kind of suspended how long it would take for him to be in the bigs because they decided to change his release point. But now that, he goes to the White Sox and they say, just do what you're doing, he's incredible. So what he did last year was pretty good. He had 11 wins, a 3.53 ERA with a 201 Ks and a 110 whip, but he only pitched 178 innings. So that K per 9 is absolutely ridiculous. And I think that he's going to be a strikeout machine. I believe that ERA is going to come down this year. That White Sox lineup is going to get him more wins. I think that with Eloy healthy, Roberts a whole season, and just everybody else is in complement are going to bring that win total up. And I think we're going to see a very good season out of Giolito, and I could see him starting to move his way up into the elite and, be of that future Elite 5.
Yeah. I think, I don't see here. I'll get a little, a debate here with you, even though, we have him ranked in the same spot. I don't know if he ever is going to take that step forward because he is starting to get a little bit older. If I believe, what is he getting? 29 or almost 30 now at this point?
27.
Wow. See, so you know what? Actually, let me change my tune now because I thought he was a little bit older. Yeah, he's just been around forever. So I'm going to change my tune on that. I guess this might be the year then if we do see if he's going to take that step going into the next level. Because if we don't see it this year, he might fall into that Jose Berrios class of where he's just going to be a consistent 3.3, 3.5 ERA guy with high strikeouts and a decent whip, That I still love him. I think he's going to be great. He's top 10 pitcher. He's been super, super consistent the last few years after finding his stride, after leaving the Nationals, coming over to the White Sox. I know him, similar to Corbin Burns, he had that 1 year where he had like the ERA over 8, and then the year after he was working on everything and he finally broke out the way everyone thought he was going to be as a top pitching prospect coming up. And I think he's been proving himself. I just think you draft him with confidence in the top 10. He could be the ace of your team. If you do, he should give you high innings like he's been doing. And I just think he's a stud. I really like the way the top 10 in starting pitcher looks this year. I think you have a lot of safe bets and it's not a lot of risk.
All right. So I got no more on Giolito. But we're going to move on here to our number 10 consensus and genuine consensus, Shane Bieber. Now, Shane Bieber would probably be higher on our rankings if it wasn't for the fact that he was hurt last year. And, it's just one of those things where he hasn't got a lot of rep counts because of COVID year and then being hurt last year. I want to see him actually do it, but I'm not really like knocking him down and putting him in like the 30s. We have him as our number 10. And what he did last year in the time that he played was pretty good. He had 7 wins, a 3.17 ERA, 134 Ks, 121 whip, which is a little bit on the higher side, but that was 96 innings. So the guy's going to pump out Ks all day and could possibly be the number 1 pitcher this year with ease as long as he can stay healthy. It just makes me a little nervous, the fact that he hasn't even pitched over 100 innings in 2 years, especially with that injury. hence why he's at number 10. You got anything on him, Dom?
Yeah, see, the thing with Bieber is I do think he's a top 10 starting pitcher. I don't know if his upside is top 5 anymore. The thing is I've been seeing a lot of people talk about him, and then I was looking into his stats too. From what I had seen, he has that one year where I don't know if he won the Cy Young. He was either top 2 or top 3 for the Cy Young that year. But after that, you look at his stats, and they look kind of like, oh, it's more of like a high 2 ZRA or a low 3 ZRA. So I don't know if he's really going to be that to dip down to the low 2 ZRA like, he did that one year, looks more of a little bit of an outlier to me, but I still do think he's going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. I think that, I expect like a 3.2 ERA from him. Let's hope he can get up to 170, 180 innings this year. Strikeouts should be around 230. And then the whip is going to be interesting, as he's starting to find that control coming off the injury. Whip could be 115, 110, But that's why I think that's holding him back from being in that upper echelon. Maybe if things look good this year, he comes back out strong. Going into next year, I could see him being ranked a little higher maybe. But otherwise, I think he might live from the future, maybe the top 10, top 15 range, especially with this young group of pitchers coming up. Like last year, we saw a bunch of rookie guys come up and they look great, So I think he could stay in that 10 to 15 range going forward, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said there. Outside of the fact of what he did in, I believe it was 19, still had that higher ERA, like you were saying. But I mean, the kid threw up 259 Ks, which would make him much higher in the rankings, if not the number one.
What was the ERA though?
3.28 wasn't even that.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, that's the thing is that if he could, if that ERA stays around that range, it kind of throws me off, especially on that Guardians team. They're not going to win a lot of games for him. They're not going to win many games. So maybe if he gets out of there, we'll look a little better. But otherwise, I still think he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. I think the K upside is crazy.
Yeah. All right. So Dom and I are going to, instead of bore you with continuous rankings moving forward, we are going to
do some late round gems.
Yeah, late round gems, or somebody that you're really feeling. So Dom, why don't you kick us off?
All right, so my first one here, Matt. While I'm ranting about him a little bit, you can pull up his stats. I truly appreciate it, guys.
Sure.
I had a little computer problems over here today, so Matt's been doing the heavy lifting, which I truly appreciate. But John Gray, he's moving out of Coors, going over to the Texas Rangers. And now here's the thing: he's been one of the most consistent pitchers that I've ever seen in the history of Colorado. Maybe besides Ubaldo Jimenez, and he wasn't even there that long. Now, the thing with him is getting out of Coors and going to the Texas Rangers, which are now one of the teams that are really trying to win with picking up Mitch Garver, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. They really look like they're trying to win. So the wins are going to go up for him. I bet you that ERA is going to be in like the 3.5 range. He's got good K upside. So I really think, he's going later in drafts. If you get him as one of your, last pitchers, you're going to be very happy with him. I think he has a lot of upside there in that park.
Yep. I completely agree with everything you're saying. He's actually one of the few pitchers that have had a sub-4 ERA in Colorado pitching a full year. Yeah. He did that in 2019 and 2017. He had a 3.84 in 19 and a 3.67 in 2017. And he didn't have a bad year last year either, especially, again, pitching in Coors. He had 8 wins, a 4.59 ERA with 157 Ks. And, quite honestly, what brings his ERA down is the fact that he doesn't pitch every single game in Coors. So, that's where he really shines. And now that he's out of there, I think the upsides to, come down either high 4s or mid to high 3s. And that's where the value is going to come in because nobody's really looking at him right now. And you can get him for almost free. So I'll take that free 99 right there.
Yeah, I think I got him somewhere in my my top 60, my top 65 probably.
Yeah,
which I think is a good spot for him. Like I said, I think that ERA is closer to a 3.5, 3.6 like that one year he did in Colorado. He's shown he can do it. If he had an ERA that good in Colorado, I think going into Texas, which is it's a good park. As it gets hotter, the ball does start to fly a little bit there, but it's still a medium range park to factor. So I think John Gray is a good bang for your buck later in drafts. Matt, you wanna do one of yours?
Absolutely. So I got my boy Luke Weaver. Now, everybody's probably like, oh, Luke Weaver, another guy that's going to talk about him. But I mean, to be completely honest, the guy has all the talent in the world. One, he's just on the Diamondbacks, which absolutely sucks. But, and I think he got hurt last year too, which also is
He
another thing
did.
that
He did get hurt last year.
kind of kill him. But honestly, he's one of these guys that are going so late, you might as well take the free production. And, he's going to, it's not like he's going to kill you. So when he plays, right? So last year wasn't that hot, but again, he got hurt, and 2020 wasn't that hot, but it was COVID year. But this is 2019, right? So he had 64 innings, he had 4 wins, 69 Ks, a 2.94 ERA with a 107 WHIP. Now, if they unleash this kid and he finally stays healthy, and the infield doesn't seem to mess him up too bad, he's going to have good production. I'm not saying he's going to have a 2.94 ERA, but the kid's going to have a mid to high 3 ERA and bang out that production. You're going to get him like pick 300. So, I mean, last pick, dart throw, lottery ticket, scratch off. Let's take him and let's see what we get. And if he sucks, drop him because he's free 99. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, I hear what Matt's saying. As one of your last picks, I think you could do worse than Luke Weaver. Yeah, like Matt said, there was that 2019 season where he really was showing something and he got hurt. I think the thing with him is that he's injury prone. So I do have him a little bit lower than I think probably Matt does. I have to check my rankings. I think I got him probably somewhere in the 80s. But you know what? As Matt said, your last pick, you can't go wrong. The kid's got upside. He showed it before. He could do, potentially 3.5, 3.6 ERA, give you some strikeouts, give you some, I don't know about wins there in the Arizona team, but
definitely
he can
not
provide you with some other counting stats. And I would, I'd say he might be a little bit more of a streamer. You look to him in a good matchup here and there, but he could potentially provide some value as your last pick at upside play. I agree with Matt there, but I'm actually Matt might be mad at me, but I'm changing my second gem here last second because
sure.
I was just thinking about it, and somebody that I really want to talk about because it's somebody that seen a real change in, and that's what you look for in spring training coming into a new season. Mitch Keller of the Pittsburgh Pirates. The kid is throwing gasoline. I was watching his start the other day. He looked absolutely brilliant until I will mention he took a comebacker off the back of his leg, I believe, and I don't think it was anything too serious, but I'm sure if guys Matt, can you fact check me on that if there's any news on that on the comebacker that he took? But I will keep ranting about him. He went to some big training facility this offseason and they were working on his mechanics. And he's now averaging 98 miles an hour on that fastball. And 98's no joke. And he's topping out at 100. So the kid's throwing heat. You're not going to be able to touch that. He looked like his breaking stuff looked better too from the start that I watched. Was only a couple innings. I think he had some strikeouts there. But he's definitely an upside play coming into this year. Like we've been talking about, some of these guys you get for $3.99 as one of your last picks, Mitch Keller here. I think he has potential to, give you a good ERA. I think high strikeouts. I'm talking about like 40 strikeouts over the innings. Like I really think he could provide that this year with the stuff looking that nasty. The whip, on the other hand, I'm going to throw my hands up and say, hey, I don't know about the whip. The whip could be really bad. It could get out of control, but it looks like he looks sharp. It looked like he was hitting his spots, So I would say maybe if he comes back here and has a couple more starts before the start of the season and he looks good, hey, move him up your draft boards, take him as your last pick. And hey, like we were talking about with Luke Beaver, these guys might not get you a lot of wins, but they're going to help you in other categories. And at worst, hey, maybe you find yourself a nice little streamer here and there.
Yep. I mean, so just to give you an update, he is fine. He hurt his thigh, but he says he's going to make his next start.
Go.
So
beautiful.
Just so everybody knows, he's been my guy for like 5 years. I've been waiting for him to get called up, but he's on the pitiful Pittsburgh Pirates. So I just got to wait for him to get traded to like Houston or something, and then he's going to be amazing, and he's going to be the next Garrett Cole. So
yeah.
I'm joking. I don't know. I'm just, but they love to trade away everybody like Glass now or, Garrett Cole or anybody else that's come off that team.
Or the whole team for Chris Archer.
Yeah, exactly. Even Austin Meadows had a good year after that. But,
that deal keeps looking worse and worse. Yeah. You know who was in that deal too, man? I don't even know if you know about this, but Shane Baz. I'm pretty sure Shane Baz was in that deal too.
They're the worst organization in baseball. I can't stand them. So just a heads up, like you guys are probably thinking we're crazy because of what he did last year. He had 5 wins, a 6.17 ERA, 92 Ks, and a 179 whip. But again, when guys do a lot of work in the off season,
Yeah. I'll tell you this.
It speaks volumes. He's 26 years old. Like you got to give him a little time. He's only been in the bigs 3 years, and COVID kind of messed up some development too.
I do want to say this before we move on, though. You see that a year like that, and like you think of Corbin Burns' really bad year with an 80 ERA. You think of Lucas Giolito's really bad year with the 80 ERA. And what happens at a year after that as a pitcher, right? You say to yourself, hey, I need to blow everything up because what I'm doing is just not working. And then if guys do that and they take the time and they invest it in themselves, that's what you want to see. Like we're literally telling you, Mitch Keller went to this, big training facility in the off season, and he was working on it. He's gained velocity. The breaking stuff looks better. He put the time and effort into himself, and the improvement starting to show. Guys, keep an eye out for Mitch Keller, late round pick, and watch these next couple of spring training starts. And if the stuff looks good and the velocity is there, I think it's going to translate.
So I got my guy coming up, and everybody's probably going to roll their eyes a little bit because everybody probably got burned or is just tired of hearing about the injury from him. That's Nate Pearson. So Nate, when he came up for a cup of coffee in 2020, was looking hot, but then, he's a rookie, so he got kind of lit up a little bit. But if you look at his minor league stats, he had a couple good years, and now he's trying to fight for that rotation slot. And I think he's going to win it. The back of that rotation really isn't that strong. And I mean, if he's looking as hot as I think he is, the world is his oyster because the kid's really going to go off. I think he has a lot of upside. I think that you're going to get him for free 99. You don't even have to draft him. He's one of those guys you just throw on the waiver wire, and not waiver wire. You throw him on a watch list. You scoop him up the second he has a really good outing. And I have a feeling he's going to build on that because this kid is hungry. He's on a great team in Toronto. They're almost an even empire over there, except they just they give everybody a donut in Canada. How I Met Your Mother reference. And it's one of those things where. This guy could be a really good little gem as a pickup or as your last pick in the draft. Again, these are all late round flyers and lottery tickets. So, Dom, I feel the same.
Yeah, I like Nate Pearson coming into his career. He was a highly, highly touted prospect, and he did have a bunch of great years in the minors. Problem is, he's been banged up over the last few years, so we haven't really got to see the true Nate Pearson. Right now, he's reminding me of Mackenzie Gore or guys like that, or Mark Appel, guys that just were never really able to stay healthy and live up to their full potential. But like Matt said, we're talking like darts here. You could totally do worse than Nate Pearson at the end of your draft. Just throw the dart. He could drop him if he's not starting, he doesn't make the rotation. But if he's starting in that Blue Jays rotation, he's got a lot of great pitchers there he could learn from. The defense is good. They have a very good young team, so they're going to win games. And that the AL East is going to be tough, but I think they're going to hang in there with the Yankees and the Sox and Tampa. So it's going to be interesting. But I do like Nate Pearson. Contrary to Matt might think, I do like him, but I'm not taking him as one of my late round darts, unless I'm in some real competitive leagues, or we have our home league coming up, which is super, super deep with the pitching. So I could see him getting snagged in a league like that at the end of the draft where, starting pitchers go super, super deep. We have deep benches in that league. So, I mean, you could totally do worse. I like Nate Pearson. Matt, real quick, do we got time for one more each? I think we might, right?
We do.
All right, so you know what? I got one more. I'm going to do the guy I was originally going to do. That's Louise Heal of the New York Yankees. A lot of guys might not be too familiar with him if you're not a Yankee fan, because he didn't pitch a lot last year with the big league team. But when he did, his stuff is electric. He reminds me of a young Blake Snell trying to figure things out with the control. Because the thing is, the whip is really, really high, but he did have a pretty good ERA, if I remember correctly, and he had a lot of strikeouts. So the thing with him is it's a late round dart. It's a cheap thing. The Yankees, I don't know if that rotation is going to hold up all year. I know Tyon's banged up. I don't know if Monty is going to be there all year. Domingo Aman's got the 60-game, stint on the IL. Who knows what's going to go on with him.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be his girlfriend again.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with Domingo? But, I think Louise Heal might be able to step in and find a spot. See, the thing was with I comp him to Blake Snell because when Blake Snell was coming up, he had big control problems. And when he figured it out, he won a Cy Young. So I think Louise Heal does have that upside. The thing is, once again, he's still very, very young, and trying to figure out that control, as when you got stuff that electric and you're throwing that hard, isn't always the easiest thing to do. But I think as one of your late round picks, if it looks like he's going to make the rotation, and even in deeper leagues, if you want to throw him on the end of your bench, or if you got an NA spot, I think he could really be a very, very productive pitcher in the next few years here for the Yanks. Matt, any thoughts on him?
To be honest, he's not really on my radar. I mean, I don't even, if he doesn't even have his spot yet, that's why he's not there yet. So, I'm intrigued, but I'm not excited until I hear he's got a spot.
Fair enough.
So that's where I stand on him. So I really don't have a late round flyer that I'm super excited about right now. So I'm going to talk about somebody that's a little bit higher, and I'm going to highlight him just a smidge. And this is Dylan Cease. I haven't ranked at 23.
Okay. I'm. You know what, man? I'm not far off. Far off. He's in my top 25. I know that.
Right. So the guy is incredible. I think that he's been, knocking at the door of, this really big breakout. And I mean, last year was kind of confirming it because he had a lot of electric starts from 2019 when he got called up, and then 2020 during the COVID year. And then last year too, he was just killing it. And then, you have a couple blow up games, but I mean, 3 years in the league and he's doing this. So this is what he did last year. He had 13 wins. He had a 3.91 ERA and 226 Ks, and only. Dom, you ready for this?
It's crazy. I know. It's
you ready?
Let me guess. Is it 169?
165 innings.
I was close.
That's 60 some odd more Ks.
He reminds me of what Robbie Ray did this last year. I think Dylan Cease could do this year, as to where guys that kind of struggled with the control a little bit, the higher ERA, but this crazy strikeouts. And even if you look at Max Scherzer in his beginning of his career, he was the same type of guy. And I was just saying the same thing about Louise Heal. When you're young and you have electric stuff like that, it's hard to learn to control it, and it takes time.
Yeah.
So, that's why sometimes you see pitchers, it takes a little bit longer for them to develop, because it takes time to master that stuff, especially when you come up to the big leagues and you're going against the best hitters in the world. So I think Dylan Cease, like Matt just said, that K upside is crazy. And if he really learns how to, control it, forget about it. The Cy Young is the upside.
Yeah, I mean, he's astronomical, and it's not like, okay, like the ERA kind of matched the curtains downstairs with the whip, because the whip wasn't horrendous either. It was a 1.25, which tells me that, which tells me he's at least getting the ball in the zone when he wants it. So I think that honestly, the ERA is going to come down significantly. I'm not saying in the twos, but I will say low threes. And to be honest, he can be a top 10 pitcher this year, no question. And I'm in love with him. It's actually, mind blowing of what he's going to do.
Yeah, well, I was ranting in and out there too, but I agree on Dylan Cease. I think he does. I don't know about top 10, but definitely top 15 potential, maybe top 10 if everything goes right and he has that, breakout year. Yeah, you know what? Maybe it does. Maybe he does have a 2.5 ERA with a crazy, I can't even guess how many strikeouts this kid could have. It just really reminds me of what Robbie Ray did last year. I think Dylan Cease does it this year. I think there's a very good chance of it. I think a lot of people are taking him pretty high this year, and I think there's a good reason for it. So I'm in step with Matt there on the Dylan Cease one, guys.
Amen. All right, guys. So I think this is where we're going to call it a day or a night, for us. So you'll be listening to this tomorrow, but we want everybody to like, subscribe, rate, comment. And if you do all that and you shoot us an email on at fantasymds@gmail.com, we'll send you our rankings, and you can draft with confidence and kind of win your ship just because of our rankings alone and listening to this show.
Yeah, guys, draft season's right around the corner, so you want to do that. You want to interact with us. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out. We'll do our best to answer them. We'll answer quickly, promptly, and we'll give you our best opinion. But, guys, look out for us next week. I think we're going to be doing relief pitchers on Tuesday. That episode will drop. But, guys, thank you. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Peace.